conference at stlmedweightloss.com.
Hello and welcome to the Frank and Jill Show on KTRS, the Talk of St. Louis, the Big 550. So glad you are with us here today. I'm Jill Farmer. Connor McCarthy is here. Frank Cusimano will be joining us in just a little while. He's wearing all the hats today, the hardest working man in St. Louis media, covering the Chaim Bloom presser because he is going to begin his career at the helm of the St. Louis Cardinals. And so Frank's going to update us on what we can expect with that a little bit later in the show when he joins us after this press conference and the interview are over. Looking forward to that. How you doing today, Connor?
Doing well. Ended the show yesterday. Frank was gone, and now starting off, and then he'll join us in about half an hour or so. Yeah,
I know it's been a crazy few days for him. His very hardworking colleague in sports at KSDK is off this week, and there just is a lot of things happening at once.
A lot going on. So he is not. He's going to be with us a little later in the show, but not right off the top with us. We do have a great show coming up. Dr. Rick is here, so get your medical questions ready. We want to hear from you on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line, 84126. We always try to get to as many of those questions as we can. Some really good stuff. Of course, Dr. Rick keeps us on top of breaking news in the medical world, and he's got a couple of interesting things. A new form of diabetes, or a neglected form of diabetes, gets its own name. It's going to be called type 5 diabetes. What in the heck is that? Dr. Rick is going to update us. Are we missing a couple of types there?
Yeah,
is there type 3 and type 4 that I wasn't aware of?
I think they just went straight to 5, and he'll explain why and all that we need to know about that. But that was brand new news to me as well. And a new landmark study saying that eating eggs is going to lower our cholesterol with some caveats. We'll get into all of that stuff. Joe Holloman reporting on somewhat of a crazy situation with some local Democratic politicians, women actually resorting to fisticuffs. I don't know how else you say it. They got in a physical fight. There's a lawsuit that now ensues. He has been digging up this story and reporting on it. He'll give us the very latest on that story. It's one of those stories that is getting a little bit of a national attention that we kind of wish wasn't getting national attention.
Yeah.
Not one of the ones that reflects. And then Ryan Raphael, also here. Get your questions ready for him as well. He'll be here at about 11:50 a.m. to answer your Medicare questions. Those of you in Illinois, some big changes coming to Medicare. We're going to talk about that. He's going to update you on what you need to know as we gear up for probably what he says will be one of the busiest enrollment times, from which starts, of course, in mid-October for Medicare. So you guys are going to want to listen to all that Ryan has, even if you're not in that age range that is getting ready to enroll. There's a lot of things that are going to impact a lot of people. So if anybody in your life is impacted or on Medicare, it's going to be worth sticking around for that interview as well. So we're all looking forward to that. You're a huge baseball fan. Before we get the inside scoop from Frank, do you have any feelings about the changing of the guard, so to speak?
No, and I don't really know what they'll. I don't want to preempt Frank's reporting on this. I don't really know what they'll say today that will really glean any information from. The season's over. It was disappointing. Everyone knew that. What are they going to say? They're going to come out because they're not going to come out and say, we're going to get a bunch of new players in this offseason. So I guess if they say that would be surprising. But I think they'll kind of say, we've got a plan, we had this, kind of the normal press conference stuff, and then we'll see if there's anything of note.
Okay, good. That's we're sticking around to see whether.
I don't want to preempt Frank's coverage of this, but I just this is one of those where I just can't imagine they'll say something shocking or all too interesting. But we'll see.
The prognostication is that we're going to hear a lot of it's a new era. It's going to be great. We've got things maybe that you guys will love. The fans will love. Just trust us behind the scenes. So we can test our theories based on what people regularly say.
The word patience will probably be used a number of times. It's. I don't think it'll be groundbreaking.
Yeah, Royal Banks, Missouri text line 84126. If you could wave a magic wand as a fan, What would you want to hear from the new leadership? What do you think Chaim Bloom could say to you today that would say, wow, this is getting me excited. I'm ready to turn the page on this 2025 baseball season and get excited about what's next? I'd love to hear from you guys on that. We have a lot coming up in the show. So before we go too far along, let's take our first break. We'll be right back after this.
The Missouri Laborers Union and their contractors invest in people, making them extraordinary. How? Through training, creating careers, providing good wages, having superior health insurance, and a strong retirement. These are just a few of the many ways they invest in their members. The Missouri Laborers Union and their contractors understand the importance of having a strong workforce, and it starts with investing in people. Go to buildunion.com for more information.
Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
Yeah, they're on the med, and these medications are used, these GLP-1s, for reducing inflammation in your body. I get so many folks that are like, wow, I don't have the knee pain. I don't have the...
Because once you start losing weight, all these other things naturally happen to you in a positive way. Not just talk about the deals for KTRS listeners at stlmedweightloss.com.
All KTRS listeners, they get $50 to $100 off their first month. And what's beautiful about it too, hey, I get it. The economy, what we just had, guys, things are difficult right now, but we make the plan work for you. We have financing options. We make this work for you because we realize how important it is to get down in your weight, get your confidence back, and really start feeling like the old you.
Call stlmedweightloss.com and ask Dr. Joe. stlmedweightloss.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. And have a banner day.
I'm Farmer Dave, and here's my good friend and owner of MasterCars Inc., Alex Rosenberger, with today's hot MasterCars Inc. deals.
Hey, thanks, Farmer Dave. This is our favorite motoring season. Great top-down weather or getting the bike out. The temps are perfect. Of course, we can fix you up with one if you're in need. Attractive financing options available with no payments until 2026. Keep that in mind. Now, if you have one and don't need it, we can help there too. We're always looking for super clean, low-mile, pristine Corvettes, muscle cars, classic cars, luxury cars, you name it. Motorcycles too, especially Ducatis and Harleys. We'll even buy entire collections. Hop on our site, submit what you've got, and we'll get you an offer. Easy as that.
So rev that motor and point your car in the direction of MasterCars Inc. and buy or sell today. 4100 Namioki Road in Granite City, or visit MasterCarsInc.com to get more details. That's MasterCarsInc.com.
It's the Big Sports Show with Sports Director Brandon Lisi. Weeknights 7 to 9 on the Talk of St. Louis, the Big 550, KTRS.
I'm Bob Hardcastle. Listen to my Money Talk radio program every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Big 550, where we discuss your money in an easy-to-understand manner. We have interesting guests, chat about money. We try to help you feel more comfortable with your money by talking about the investment market. Join me. I'm Bob Hardcastle.
Money Talk, Sunday morning at 8 on the Big 550 KTRS.
And now the opening dialogue with Frank and Jill on the Big 550 KTRS. Powered by Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Welcome back, everybody. So glad you're with us this morning on the Frank and Jill Show. I'm Jill Farmer. Frank Cusmano will be joining us in just a little while. He's covering the press conference. Chaim Bloom taking over as the head of the Cardinals, so he'll update us on that in just a little while. So it's somewhat of an opening monologue this morning. You know, it's always fun when you open the New York Times and you see St. Louis. And as I was perusing yesterday, our own Powell Hall was just a lovely review in the New York Times. Somebody from the New York Times came in and just couldn't say enough about how beautiful this is and how great our orchestra is. That's great news. Then, of course, we opened the Wall Street Journal. And the news was not quite as positive. We'll just say it that way. The story was actually on the headline says FEMA is paralyzed. Disaster-torn communities are paying the price. The sub-headline, St. Louis's tornado was a month ago. It's still waiting for hundreds of millions in federal recovery funds to arrive, part of President Trump's plan to shift responsibility to the states and shrink the agency. It is a really, really good article, and I don't think it's going to be any big news for anybody who has been following tornado recovery efforts here. There has been somewhat of a stall because promised federal funds, haven't quite made their way here, and compared to, for instance, it compares and contrasts in this article, Connor, the experience of the people in Joliet, in different parts of Missouri from Joplin, rather, and in Washington and Illinois, where major tornadoes hit, that the federal response, one of the biggest things is there was equipment and manpower brought in to help with the clearing of the debris. Mm-hmm. And we just don't have that help coming. The reasons, according to this Wall Street Journal, are that around 400 FEMA employees have been redetailed to work at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. There were a number of FEMA employees who left the agency because of the DOJ cuts and the opportunity to get somewhat of a buyout. And so they are reportedly understaffed, and there's an intentional philosophy shift, if you will, within the administration to say we don't want FEMA to be as big as it is. We want states and cities to take on more of the responsibility. There will be some funding support, but they'll actually handle the infrastructure, which is a huge, huge change to the way that it has operated if you think about things like the hurricanes in our country. And St. Louis is somewhat of a bellwether here, or it's a litmus test for how this change is going to potentially impact people. But if you have access to be able to get to the Wall Street Journal today, the article is pretty all encompassing, and again, really focuses here on St. Louis.
So we still have quite a bit of in the impacted area that are just not really cleared out at this point. Still,
100 million tons. Yeah. I mean, that's an enormous amount of debris.
Right.
That the city doesn't have the actual equipment to be able to do it. And so that's why there was this desire to have, National Guard and other just equipment support. But it doesn't look like that's coming. So we're going to have to figure out how to leverage those funds that are still supposedly forthcoming to be able to hire private companies.
Am I remembering this correctly, though? Didn't they hire or contract out some part of the cleanup job, and then the contractor decided not to do it?
Some of them, yes.
It's like, well, so it kind of presents a challenge, right?
Well, it presents an infrastructure challenge because we don't really have the infrastructure of contractors available locally who can handle the scope of this, and I think that's
do it yourself.
Happening.
Well, we can't hire anyone to do it, so I don't really know what they're supposed to do then.
I guess we're looking at potentially having outside contractors come in. What are your thoughts on it? Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Second thought today, the wealthiest zip codes in the United States. Well, St. Louis has 8 zip codes, which make the new national ranking, but we're not at the very top of this list. The highest zip code in St. Louis, the highest number on the list of the 1,000 richest zip codes in the United States is number 407. And that, no surprise, I mean, I don't think any of these on the list are going to be a surprise to any of our listeners. Number 407 on the list of the top 1,000 zip codes based on per capita income and the richest zip codes is what the headline is for the National Business Journal's article. Number 407 is Clayton. I don't think that's a big shock to anybody. The per capita income, $74,000. Typical home value, $781,000 in Clayton. Ladue, number 2 on the list. It's number 483 nationally. Again, per capita income is higher there, $157. So is the home value. So I'm not sure what all.
Why is that? Why is that below then?
It includes a minimum threshold of per capita, and then it eliminates zip codes with the highest population density because that impacts it. So there's a population density component there as well. Then we drop down to Chesterfield, which is 533 on the list. Town and Country, 551. Creve Coeur, 692, and then rounding out the list of St. Louis zip codes who made the top 1,000, Sunset Hills, and then 2 different zip codes in Wildwood, one at number 856 and one at number 947 out of 1,000.
So just
on the
Wildwood
list.
in general, I suppose. Then.
Yes, Wildwood, whatever your zip code is in Wildwood. I think, doesn't Clayton just have one zip code?
Yeah, they do.
And Ladue does too. So Wildwood obviously covers
Wildwood's
a
a
much
bigger place,
bigger area. So again, no surprises on there. It's just always interesting to see how we rank nationally. And per usual, we're in the middle of the country. We're kind of in the middle of the list. That all seems to
I'm
make
still not
sense.
sure if I really understand how Ladue has a higher average income and home values and is lower on the list, though. That one doesn't make a ton of sense.
It doesn't make any sense from a data perspective for me. But growing up and going to Clayton schools, would you just say it's because Clayton's cooler?
I guess, yeah.
It's the
I guess
cooler
they gave it
factor?
to Clayton.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're just going to, when there's a tie, these guys are really close.
Clayton's a lot smaller. Like, Clayton's a very small district line. Like, it's not, it's like from an area perspective, like you leave Clayton pretty early. Like it's not very big, so I don't know if that impacts it or what.
Yeah, yeah, good thoughts. Those are good thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Do you think they missed any zip codes in our area that you would have thought? I mean, Town and Country, Frontenac, I would have thought those would have made the list.
Wasn't
as
Town and
well.
Country on the list?
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
you say Town and Country?
I did say Town and Country.
But
you're right.
is Frontenac its own thing, or is that part of something else?
It's
its own thing?
Yeah,
That's a
got
little
its own-
surprising
yeah,
then.
I would agree. I would agree. But it also has the retail stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think slightly smaller population comparatively. Do not know why they came up with the list the way they did, but I'm just reporting what they said. There was a pretty wonderful feel-good story making the rounds today about an elderly customer from a casual restaurant in the South who ended up being saved by a shrimp basket cook. Hear the story. So that, of course, is a cook at a seafood place down in Pensacola. He saved a 78-year-old customer's life. He said the person you just heard from, Donnell Stallworth, works at a place called the Shrimp Basket. The guy he saved normally comes in every day just for a cup of gumbo. He said he had noticed that he hadn't stopped by for a few days, went to the house to check on him, found him lying on the ground. He'd fallen, broken some ribs, and couldn't get up. It's just a great story. And Connor, it reminded me of when my grandmother, who had Alzheimer's, the favorite Chinese restaurant that they would go to. They always showed up between 4:30 and 5 p.m. because, why wait too late to eat dinner? And the people there knew of my grandmother's condition, would allow her to do things like go into the kitchen to get things that she wanted, or when she was done eating, she would take her plate to the kitchen because, she had been somebody who cooked dinner pretty much every night her whole life. That was the routine, and they didn't balk twice about it. And then when my grandmother went into a nursing home, they sent flowers. They were extra kind to my grandfather as he was there at least once a week by himself. He went to another diner restaurant. He was there, every Monday without fail for years. And when he took ill, they were concerned, wrote a letter to his home address. They looked him up based on they knew his name, wrote a letter to his home address, which my mom got, and wanted her to keep up and let them know how his health was. Somebody came to his visitation. They sent flowers. And I just thought, in the world where everything's about us, them, divided, who's on our team, who's not on our team in terms of our thoughts and pointing fingers and criticizing and looking for reasons to point out negative in each other. Stories like this guy in Florida, who saved somebody's life because he cared, because he hadn't seen him for a few days. Or I think of those stories related to my grandpa. It's like, what if we just started doing a little bit more of that, a little less complaining?
Yeah. Have you ever been a regular at a restaurant to the point where they would be concerned if you didn't show up
No.
for your regular visit.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, there's some places in our neighborhood where we know the servers and they know us, and we've gotten to know the proprietors. And I love that, growing up in a small town, that getting to know that people in that connection. Or we're fortunate enough to have so many incredible restaurateurs here in the weekly special every Thursday, which the franchise that Frank brought to the show. And so getting to meet Andy Candy here in the studio, and then when we go to Crown Candy,
now you know
talking
him.
to him again.
Yeah.
Now I know him. I just feel like it's a real gift to
Yeah.
have those connections.
For sure.
How about you? Do you have any places that you are
No,
regular?
I don't think so. I mean, there have been like parts of my life where I feel like I was going to one place like multiple times a week because I just kind of had to. It was just, the college years where you find some place that will, you can find a meal that's acceptable to you for $5. You'll go there like every single day. So maybe at that stretch, maybe they would have known me, but no, I don't think for the most part I do go to one place.
There's the Chili Spot Diner, who I've talked about, which is just a very fun kind of retro small place. It used to be the O.T. Hodges downtown, and the sisters that have run it. John is a regular enough, and I'm talking couple times a month, maybe occasionally a little bit more than that. But when he walks in, Donna, who just retired, she'd look at him and say, "You want the usual?" and would remember his order. So she wouldn't put out an APB if he didn't
if he didn't show up, you're not coming around the house to knock on the door, but you know what the order is.
Yeah,
so that's nice.
I guess that's kind of our most version of Cheers, if you will, where everybody knows your name. A couple of great questions on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line, because we love having you join the show with us. One pointing out, as we're talking about the fact that Frank is just out for a little while this morning as he's covering the presser from the Cardinals. Chaim Bloom officially takes the reins today from the 314. I think Marmal was good as the skipper, but one of the big questions from today that they want to hear from Frank is are the Cardinals going to use this time
I guess
to
if
name
they
a
address
new
that,
manager?
that would be interesting. We'll see if they address that.
Yeah, that's a great point. That could be something that we should be looking forward to. Somebody else pointing out, not too happy with the politicians from Missouri, more worried about redistricting and what's happening with the Kansas City sports teams than helping the tornado victims in need. I think the state has tried to come through. They came through with more funding than originally even we thought we were going to get. But again, the question is the infrastructure there to take the funding and do what needs to get done? From 314, great human stories, love it. And somebody questioning why Huntley was not on the list.
I think why Huntley's not on the list.
Okay,
and it's because Huntley is its own thing technically for St. Louis, because we have a million of these little tiny municipalities that are like essentially one square block. But Huntley is in the 63131 zip code, which is kind of like the whole DePere, parts of Kirkwood area. So like if you're doing the ranking by zip code nationally, Huntley kind of gets subsumed by the rest of it, which will kind of, bring the numbers down, so to speak.
Okay.
So there you go. I think that's what happened.
Data analytics by our own Connor McCarthy. Very good. Good start to the show, everybody. Thanks for all of you weighing in. We want to hear from more of you. Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Dr. Rick with some great insights. Get your questions into him now during this commercial break so we can ask him when he gets on the air. But first, Altair Travel and Cruises. One of the things that is so great about them is they have all the insights to trips that I just never even would have thought about. One of the latest that I've just recently heard about is they specialize in, or they understand that there's some tour companies that specialize, for instance, around the Christmas season, around the holiday season, and that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, on planning international trips to some of the most famous Christmas markets in Europe, the very famous ones in places like Austria and Germany and some of the former Eastern Bloc countries that apparently will just blow you away. It's a lovely time to travel and to see how different cultures around the world celebrate. But you may not know that Colette, one of the big tour guide companies, also does tours in our own country, in the United States, to places like Memphis and Nashville and New Orleans on a holiday music tour that a lot of people seem to really enjoy. all kinds of things like that you just never even thought, gosh, that sounds cool, because you don't know, as McGraw often says, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's one of my favorite things about Altair Travel and Cruises. If you just know you want to go someplace, it's a time of year, or you have a certain amount of budget set aside that you want to do a trip, you can have the faintest idea, and all you have to do is call our friends at Altair Travel and Cruises, and they can take that faintest idea and help spark your imagination, help spark your creativity, and help light up that inspiration to get you excited for something that you didn't even know you wanted to do, but now you're dying to do because you've heard the great idea from them. A great place to start is just to hop online at altairtravel.com. The pictures, the ideas, the tour companies, the resorts, just to get those creative juices flowing, and then set up that appointment. 314-968-9600. Altair Travel and Cruises.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alliance is rebranding to Reese Nichols, a Missouri-born real estate company established 125 years ago. The same trusted agents who've served St. Louis for 45 years now have the backing of Missouri's most trusted brokerage. With offices across the metro and in-house mortgage, title, and insurance, Reese Nichols makes your move seamless. They proudly support the Ronald McDonald House, raising over $1.5 million for Missouri families. Visit ReeseNichols.com to learn more.
At Maryville University, we power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
Recently, a good friend of mine was changing the light fixture in their kitchen, and they took the light fixture off the ceiling and they looked inside the ceiling and said, "What is the phone number to Michael Baldy?" If they would have listened to me, they would have put Michael Baldy's phone number in their phone, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. So here you go. The next time you need an electrician, you need to remember Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. So the phone number, 314-968-9999. Indoor, outdoor, an old Victorian home, knob and tube wiring, and anything and everything in between. You see, Michael Baldy is a licensed electrician, and he has a team ready to go. Whether it's something for the ceiling in the kitchen, something for the lights for the holidays, whatever it may be, Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. BaldyElectric.com, 314-968-9999, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. BaldyElectric.com.
Arnie, Buck.
Week's off to a good start. I imagine it will continue. Tuesday on the show, we check sports with Frank Cusimano.
Also, we have Restaurant Tuesday with George Mahey from St. Louis Magazine, and Gateway Grub comes in to talk about their grub.
We also talk about our affinity with aliens, especially back in the 1950s.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
We'll see you at noon.
John Carney, Julie Buck. Weekdays at noon on KTRS, the talk of St. Louis. St. Louis is home to one of the last true Little Italies in America, the Hill neighborhood. Anchored by St. Ambrose, the Hill has been home to generations upon generations of Italian families. Known for its fine Italian cuisine, the Hill has also produced incredible athletes like Yogi Berra, Joe Garagiola, and many of the players on America's 1950 World Cup soccer team that defeated England, which helped germinate St. Louis's rich soccer heritage.
Hi, I'm Mike Vitale from Vitale's Bakery. My family's been baking delicious bread and pastries for local restaurants dating back to my grandfather in 1945. We've been a family-run business for 4 generations. My sister and my nephew Bobby are carrying on the family tradition. We're proud of our Italian heritage. We're proud to continue our parents' legacy. Vitale's Bakery is at the corner of Bischoff and Marconi on the Hill.
Celebrate Italian Heritage Day on Sunday, October 12th on the Hill with the annual Italian Heritage Day Parade at 12:30, followed by the Italian Festa at Barrett Park. And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
Well, September's swan song is going to be a toasty one, a lot closer to the records this afternoon than the normals, that's for sure. 89, my forecast high. The record is 93, set back in 1952. Looks pretty mild this evening, though. We'll drop back into the 70s by about 7:30, and then partly cloudy overnight with a low of 63. Just a few more clouds building in on Wednesday. That's the first day of October, so I'll shave a couple of degrees off, but still go way above normal. 86 for the high on Wednesday. Dry weather locked in through at least early next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers on the Big 550 KTRS.
John Bill Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbillroofing.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer, Connor McCarthy sitting in with me. Frank will join us a little bit later in the show. He's covering that Cardinals presser, so he will update us. We'll have it. You'll hear it here first. What is being laid out as the future of our Cardinals under the leadership of Chaim Bloom. As always, we love being joined on Tuesday mornings by Dr. Rick. It's a segment you guys love when you text us in your questions on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. Dr. Rick, thanks so much for being with us here today.
Good morning, you guys. Thank you.
Love having you. So tell us about type 5 diabetes, if you would. Really curious about this one.
Well, this is very, very interesting, and I'll tell you why. So we've always talked about type 1. You're born with type 1. And, of course, the big media issue right now is type 2 diabetes or metabolic syndrome. You gain weight, you get a little bit older, and you become insulin resistant. But type 5 diabetes is a malnutrition issue. And normally you would say, well, why is that a big problem in the United States? And it's a huge problem, and it has become a much bigger problem over the last, let's say, 2.5 years with the advent of these GLP-1 drugs, semaglutide. You've heard all this before. But what happens is you lose a little bit of weight, you get jacked up, you're so happy, and you almost go into an anorexic mode. I saw a lady yesterday who probably lost 40 pounds. She probably needed to lose 5 pounds. She looks awful. And I'm sure she's malnourished, which predisposes you to type 5 diabetes, because what happens is your pancreas quits working, and you become insulin resistant. So for everybody out there, check your BMI, and if your BMI is below 20/21, being too thin is not okay, and it increases your chance of dying by 300%. So, it has pretty grave issues.
So quick follow-up here. Is this something that has always been another form of diabetes that has been around, particularly among people who either couldn't or didn't get enough nutrition and it just wasn't named before, or is it becoming prominent enough, and that's why they had to create this new classification?
Yeah, good question. We used to call it malnutrition diabetes. I mean, we understood it, and things don't work when you don't have any energy. Your car doesn't run, your body doesn't work. So at the end of the day, we used to call it malnutrition diabetes, but it's become so prevalent now because people are just going overboard. And, of course, we have a significant amount of malnutrition in the United States absent these drugs. I mean, there's probably 8 to 9 million people in the United States of America who are functionally malnourished just because, food debt. They just can't afford to eat, and it's not provided. So at the end of the day, this is a problem we understand. It's just the name has changed, but the incidence has gone through the roof.
Are we jumping a couple of types here, Doc? Or is there a type 3 and 4 diabetes I'm not aware of? Why'd they go with type 5?
They went to type 5. There are some rare types of diabetes. Some of them are cancer. It's a really good question, actually. Why we go to 5? There are some other types of cancer-producing diabetes in some rare forms, which I've never seen, and it's not really taught. But they're rare, and they're less common in the United States, more common in Asia.
Mm-hmm. Now, those of us who grew up, particularly, I think it became part of what we talked about when it came to health, maybe in the 70s and 80s, that we were supposed to limit the number of eggs we ate if we had any predisposition toward a high cholesterol. And now a landmark study is saying that eating eggs might actually help lower our cholesterol. Help us understand this.
So this is a complex issue because you have cholesterol and then you have saturated fats, and even though they're both fats, they're very different. And you're 100% correct. We went through every phase. We went through you can eat all the eggs you want, Rocky drinking egg, the yolk, and getting all his protein and vitamins, and then eating the whites, and then going to you shouldn't eat any eggs at all because they're terrible for you because high cholesterol. And really what the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But the answer to your question is you have to separate saturated fats and cholesterol. And eggs are high in cholesterol, shrimp are high in cholesterol, and very low in saturated fats. So if you eat those, they will actually lower your LDL, and they're probably very healthy to eat a couple eggs a day. Now, would I tell you to eat 25 eggs a day? Probably not. But I think to eat 2-3 eggs every day is probably a very healthy thing to do. Yolk, very healthy, lots of protein in the white. And the culprit in this study is saturated fats. And I'm glad you sent me the study because it's really important to differentiate saturated fats. So when you eat that fried calamari at this great restaurant, those are saturated fats.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I shouldn't use 5 tablespoons of butter to cook my 2 eggs in. I might cancel out some of the benefits there.
Maybe.
I know, but it does taste good, sadly. This is an interesting one to me. Walking versus biking. Which exercise is more effective for fitness?
So for some reason, biking, I don't know if the biking industry is just lobbying or what's going on here, but I've seen probably 8 or 9 articles in the last probably 4 to 5 months, purporting biking is a better activity than walking. And there's no question it's a better activity than walking for a couple reasons. One is you're going to burn more calories. 2, it's non-stressful for your joints. And 3, you can bump up your resistance. All you have to do is go up a hill. So biking is by far a better exercise. Plus, you can do it longer in most cases, less stress on your ankles. And as we get older, we have a little bit of what's called midfoot collapse. So walking becomes more problematic as we get older. We're riding a bike really, especially a stationary bike, pretty benign. So again, for weight loss, which is what everybody's generally interested in, probably burn twice as many calories biking. And number 2, very, very safe on your joints. And the only thing I would say is, bike someplace that's safe. Don't get hit by a car because that does happen.
If you're using the e-bike, maybe you're burning a little bit less, though, Doc. Is that?
I think the e-bike, is interesting because you can kind of dial in how much you want to work or not work at all. But yeah, I think when you cheat on the e-bike, you burn fewer calories, but you're still going round and around and you're working your core.
Yeah, and I think, some people, we make fun of it a little bit, but sometimes e-bike is enough to get people off the couch and move in a little bit. So I think it can be, it's certainly better than doing nothing for sure. And I think follow-up question from a texter, you're saying either stationary or a bike out on the road, you're going to get you're going to get the same benefits generally.
Well, the good thing about it, there's two or three things good about a stationary bike. Number one, it's safe, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to get hit by a car.
It'd be really hard to get hit by a car, on my Peloton.
Yeah. And number 2, you can dial in the amount of resistance so you don't have to find that hill. And number 3, which is probably the biggest thing, is you can go for a long time, right? You're indoors, it's raining, it's this, it's that, it's hot, doesn't make any difference. Turn on your fan, rock and roll, and you can do your Peloton workout, and it can be 10 minutes or 40 minutes or 2 hours. So I think there's great benefits to riding indoors. Is it as scenic? No. Do you like the fresh air? For sure. So I think a combination is better. But I think if you said what's better, walking or riding an indoor bike, there's no question that riding your indoor bike is healthier.
Yes, and our texters, some of them are reminding us, hey, getting out on an e-bike is still great. No vilifying. Point well taken. Thank you. I thought you were one of the first people to bring to our attention something that has just become wildly talked about because we're just learning more and more about how bad microplastics are for us. And now a new study is showing which kind of drinks that we are buying, generally speaking, have the highest concentration of them. What did you find out there?
Well, first, let's walk this back a second. I think microplastics is really, really under media hyped. I mean, you see it in the media some, but I think doctors really see all the damage microplastics are doing, heart valves. And a little microplastics, a little bad, a lot of microplastics, a lot of bad. So the worst thing you can drink is hot tea, or hot drinks are worse than cold drinks. And hot tea in a container, i.e. like your typical Starbucks cup, is by far the worst, highest incidence of microplastics.
Darn,
the other
that's my
thing,
favorite.
Which the article everybody's favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you should go to glass and you should go to cold drinks if you're worried about microplastics. The other thing that no one talks about, we're breaking news here, is those little Tide Pods that are so easy to use. You throw in your laundry.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing in the world for you. Absolutely terrible, because the incidence of microplastics in those things are through the roof.
So it's
And then they're
leaving the
all over your
residue on
clothes.
our clothes, and then we're wearing the clothes, and then it's exposing us to those forever chemicals via what we wear.
Absolutely, you're absorbed through your skin. So for everybody, and I was the worst. I just thought those, we had the Tide Pod challenge. People were eating them. That's a bad idea. But I think at the end of the day, they're so easy to use. Go back to your liquid. Those the incidence of microplastics in Tide Pods. But if you're going to pick a drink, try to if you're worried about microplastics, pick a cold drink, and certainly glass containers much better, or ceramic, etc., than any type of typical container you're going to get at a coffee place, or you're just going to get a cup and a lid. Terrible.
Yes, my husband just texted in because I just got the giant Tide Pod thing at Costco recently. He said, my laundress is trying to kill me. That would be me. But now I know better. When we know better, we do better. One quick question follow-up before we let you go. I know we've hit you with a lot today, Dr. Rick, but so much good stuff. What about the pods that go in the dishwasher? Several questions about that just came in.
That's probably worse, because those are going right on your dishware, and you can't see them. The problem with the microplastics is, when they show them to you and they put the special UV light, you can bring them out, but you don't really see them, right? You don't go, oh, there's a microplastics, in my bowl. So you don't see them. But those pods in the dishwasher, anything that's surrounded by plastic is absolutely the worst thing you can do. Now, in Europe, plastic bags are banned. There's no plastic bags because the incidence of microplastics from plastic bags is so high. So I think that's coming at some point. Someone's going to have to address this issue. But again, anything you're putting in a plastic bag, especially something that you're eventually going to eat or wear, you pretty much want to stay away from.
Good stuff. Can I sneak in one more, because this is such a great question? Can you talk briefly about the correlation between antidepressants and weight gain?
Well, so yes, and this is a great topic, and again, this speaks for the two things that you don't want to be are too fat and too thin. Used to be, it's okay to be too thin. It's not okay to be too thin. But the incidence of depression and weight gain is significant. And the interesting thing about that is the more weight you gain, the higher the incidence, and I guess maybe that makes sense, the higher the incidence of depression. So as you have a better body image, you lose weight, maybe you start to work out, et cetera, at the end of the day, you're going to have much less depression. You're going to be happier. So for people that have chronic depression, one of the best things you can do is, one, get on an exercise program. You don't have to get crazy. Go for a walk around your block. Pick up the pace every couple of days. Number two, do something about your weight gain. And again, today there's many things you can do. And then lastly, if you're really truly depressed, you need to go see somebody. Don't just sit home and be depressed. Get help, because depression leads to bad disease, and not only heart disease and dementia, but early suicide, etc. So please, people out there, it's a disease. It's like having diabetes or vitamin deficiency. It's not. There should not be a stigma.
Love it. Dr. Rick, thank you so much. We will very much look forward to talking to you again next week. Of course, Dr. Rick Lehman, our regular guest here. Have a great rest of your day. A couple people on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line reminding us that loose leaf tea is better for us than those tea bags. Many of them, unfortunately, have microplastic in them as well. And of course, I just went and bought a whole bunch of the dishwasher and the laundry pods, Connor, so I'm going to be...
Don't you just kind of have to live with some of the plastic?
I think you have to live with some of it, but the data
They found this plastic in the Marianas Trench. It's like, you can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it, but there are ways that we can make
Minimize,
some changes
I guess,
that minimize
yeah.
it. And I think it's the confluence, to use that term again, of all the different ways it's coming in,
Yeah.
or the confluence,
Yeah.
right? That's a past joke about how to pronounce that darn word. Hey, I'll tell you exactly how you pronounce this. Listen carefully. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, and it's where you want to go to lunch today. Somebody said the other day they heard me talking about it, and they were starving, but unfortunately they'd already gone through the fast food drive-thru, and they said the whole time they were eating their not so great burger from the fast food, they thought, darn it, I wish Jill would have mentioned 3 Bay a little earlier. I would have driven just a half mile down the road and gotten a lunch that I was much happier with. So we're telling you plenty early today. Your stomach is just starting to grumble, thinking about what you want to do for lunch. Easy choice. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, Phillips 66 Station at Clayton Road and 141. Of course, you know by now that it's a great gas station. You get your gas there, you go into the convenience store, but then you keep going. And where the service bays used to be, the owners of the station, Rick and Carol Gross, are living out their true passion, which is providing great food for every single person. 3 Bay Barbecue Bakery, Phillips 66 Station, Clayton Road, and 141. Check them out online at 3baybbqandbakery.com.
Don't look now, but the Stages season is just about over. But before they close up shop for the season, beautiful, the Carole King musical, now at Stages. It starts September 19th through October 19th. For tickets, stages.stlewis.org.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset. Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella Windows specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. And have a Banner day.
You know what they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and windows and doors are usually that first impression when it comes to your home. Dalco Home Remodeling custom makes their windows and doors, and better yet, they make them here in Missouri. Dalco Home Remodeling is locally and family owned, celebrating 50 years, so they know a thing or two. The Dalco team is known for quality and customer satisfaction. That's the way it was 50 years ago when they started, and that's still true today. So if you're looking to change the look of your home without breaking the bank, call Dalco Home Remodeling. They do free in-home estimates. Just call 314-298-7300 and make an appointment. You can also check them out online at dalcohomeremodeling.com. As they've always said, if you buy somewhere else and find out how much you could have saved at Dalco, you'll blow your stack. So call Dalco first, 314-298-7300.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This is Mariah, third generation at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newsteaders, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
Are you retired? Are you thinking about retiring? Who is helping you with retirement? Might be time to check out the show When Retirement Happens, hosted by Kevin Lloyd of Legacy Wealth Advisors. Saturday at 1, Sunday at noon on the Big 550 KTRS.
Welcome back to the Frank and Jill Show. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Frank Cusimano is on remote today working to be able to tell us what the future of the Cardinals looks like. Is that right, Frank? What you been up to?
Yes, I think that Heidi Klaus just said it in a commercial, and she said it quite a few times, is you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And the first impression made by Chaim Bloom was overwhelmingly positive. He has a little bit of the JFK Jr. look to him. He has a little bit of the Josh Shapiro, Barack Obama presence to him. He's 42 years old. He went to Yale. He was a director of baseball operations at the age of 28. He embraced the Cardinals' past by bringing up names like Branch Rickey and George Kissel and Whitey Herzog. He talked about the boldness of the future and that how the Cardinals will win, draft, and develop. In short, on a 1 to 10, his press conference was a 10. And I think, although I'm not predicting like winning right away for the Cardinals because of the state of the organization as we speak, I think the organization is in very good hands moving forward with Chaim Bloom. The news out of the press conference, or in our one-on-one, which just happened about 12 minutes ago as I hustled back to Channel 5, will Ali Marmol be back? And he said, yes, Ali will be back. And I had a suspicion of that. In fact, I saw Ali this morning. Their relationship is solid. Chaim doesn't blame Ali Marmol for the Cardinals finishing 6 games under 500. So the guy is sharp. He's worked with very small budgets in Tampa, very large budgets in Boston. And I think that this year of not doing anything, he talked about not having to deal with day-to-day operations and take daily calls and getting to know people in the organization and develop relationships without timelines was a real plus for him. So a lot of work to be done, but overall, I think this is going to be a good hire by Bill DeWitt and the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, great. Some listeners have some great questions to follow up on this, so we'll get to those in the second hour of the Frank and Jill Show. We're coming back right after the news.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-859-3220. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-859-3220. That's 800-859-3220 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
News, weather, traffic, sports, and live local talk. This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis, Ladue, Glen Carbon, University City, Edwardsville, Manchester, Wood River, Grafton, Collinsville, Pacific, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. A developing story in New Jersey. Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst posting on Facebook that there was a lockdown at the base with all personnel told to shelter and take cover. That base has since issued a new post that the Lakehurst portion is still on lockdown. No other details yet confirmed. Earlier today in Virginia, Pete Hegseth outlined his vision for his Department of War with several hundred high-ranking U.S. military leaders stationed around the world gathering at Marine Base in Quantico.
Speaking to an auditorium full of commanders in their dress uniforms, Secretary Pete Hegseth said the era of the Department of Defense is over.
We became the woke department, but not anymore.
Hegseth announced all troops in combat roles must now meet the highest standard for men. He's instituting a new combat field test, banning beards except in the special forces, reviewing the military's rules on bullying and hazing, and ending anonymous complaints. To commanders who might disagree,
you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
President Trump also attended the military meeting. He spoke about the shutdown looming tonight earlier, with lawmakers no more closer to a compromise to extend funding.
President Trump said Tuesday there could be layoffs in the federal workforce if there's a government shutdown starting Wednesday. Asked how many people could lose their jobs, the president pointed the finger at Democrats for their shutdown demands.
We may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats.
The president went on to claim that Democrats are seeking, quote, full health care benefits for migrants. But Democrats are insisting on a reversal of Medicaid cuts passed earlier this year and an extension of Obamacare subsidies that are set to expire this year. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
The U.S. is planning to deport hundreds of Iranians back to Iran in the coming weeks. That, according to Iranian officials, with the first 120 deportees being prepared for a flight in the next day or two. Those deportation plans have not been publicly confirmed by the U.S. You're listening to ABC News.
Talking about guns with others might not always feel comfortable, but it could save a life. Here's a way to start a conversation. Your family is going over to your neighbor's home for dinner for the first time. How would you ask if there are any unlocked guns in the home?
Hey, we're so excited for tonight. Before we come over, though, may I ask if there are any unlocked guns in your home?
Our guns are stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access.
Awesome. Learn how to have the conversation at agreetoagree.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you bought that TV in the parking lot. It just happened to not come in a box or include a remote. And when you finally managed to turn it on, all it displayed was the menu of Grumpy's Tacos. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
"78 degrees at 11:03 with KTRS News. I'm Steve Potter. The Democratic National Committee is challenging Missouri's new congressional map. The DNC has announced a new petition initiative to get the Missouri First map to a statewide vote. Governor Kehoe signed the map, which divides Kansas City among 3 congressional districts, into law on Sunday. Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch will be in the Metro East tomorrow for a tour with State Representative Katie Stewart. They will be touring Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. The tour will highlight the role that SIUE plays in the local economy and the state's higher education system, as well as the agricultural and energy innovations happening at the National Corn to Ethanol Research Center. Mayor Kara Spencer signed a bill to allow accessory dwelling units to be built in residential areas of St. Louis. This new legislation aims at increasing affordable housing options and providing solutions for families affected by natural disasters such as tornadoes. In response to Governor Mike Kehoe's declaration of a drought alert, MoDOT is offering a special over-width hauling permit at no charge to help farmers and ranchers move hay as needed. Permits can be requested online at modot.org. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin delivered a speech yesterday on the Senate floor highlighting what he called the health care crisis that affects residents of Illinois, Missouri, and across the country. He began by stressing the importance of Medicaid for families and how they will be impacted by the cuts in the big, beautiful bill.
In the state of Illinois, we have plenty of these rural hospitals, and if one closes, it means your pregnant wife who goes into labor now has to drive 70 miles instead of 20 for that delivery. I'd hate to have to go through that, and yet that's what's going to happen. And so the position we're taking is that kind of cut in Medicaid is going to hurt hospitals and hurt people across America.
Durbin went on to discuss the upcoming expiration of the Affordable Care Act's enhanced premium tax credit. And Great Rivers Greenway is looking for people to work as extras for Route 66 Main Street America, a documentary film that will air next year on PBS. Filming is set for Monday at the Chain of Rocks Bridge on Riverview Drive. This KTRS Business Minute brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. You can place your order anytime at WKF.com. The Boeing strike in the St. Louis area continues. The International Association of Machinists said discussions on Monday did not lead to any progress despite the presence of a federal mediator. Over 3,000 Boeing employees have been on strike since August 4th, with the union stating that the company must improve its contract offer. Now look at the markets, brought to you by JBL Financial. Tune in to Straight Talk on Retirement Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. The Dow is down 116 points at 46,199. NASDAQ down 27 at 22,563. And the S&P 500 down 6 at 6,654. In sports, Illinois football will kick off at 11 a.m. against top-ranked Ohio State Saturday, October 11th in Champaign. The Illini are coming off of a 34-32 win over USC, and will play Purdue this weekend on the road. We're looking for sunny skies today, an afternoon high near 90, mostly clear tonight with an overnight low around 60, then partly sunny tomorrow with a high of 88. At 6 minutes past 11 o'clock, sunshine, 78 degrees at the Gold Tower at Westport. Steve Potter, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
Welcome back, everybody. 11:07 already on a Tuesday morning. The Frank and Jill Show. We have an excellent second hour lined up for you. I'm Jill Farmer. Frank Cusimano joining us remotely as well. Connor McCarthy here. And Joe Holloman. It's Tuesday morning when he updates us on all the exciting things happening, what our elected officials are up to. And boy, this was one of the things this is a conversation topic we've never had before, which is 2 area politicians accused of physically attacking St. Louis County Councilwoman Shalonda Webb last week have now filed a lawsuit claiming she started the fight at a public meeting last week. In case somebody missed the story, Joe, update us and what is happening now.
All right. It all goes back to Thursday night, less than a week ago, a town hall meeting in Bellefontaine Neighbors. County Councilwoman Shalonda Webb invited to the meeting to talk about what the county's doing on various projects, and also to drop off a resolution that the council had passed, a courtesy resolution congratulating Bellefontaine Neighbors on its 75th anniversary as a city. So Shalonda Webb is at the meeting by invitation. Also there is State Senator Angela Mosley, who is the state senator for that area. Not a speaker or anything, but is just there along with her sister, Rochelle Walton Gray, former county council member, who Shalonda Webb defeated in 2020, unseated Ms. Gray, then won re-election again in 2024. So, and then we also have to note that Angela Mosley, Rochelle Walton Gray, they're sisters. They're both the daughters of Elbert Walton, who is a longtime power player up in North County Democratic politics, involved with getting a number of politicians elected, and also a number of controversies, been disbarred by the state, has been up on Missouri Ethics Commission's violations. Anyway, so you have these two sides that are natural rivals. The allegation that Ms. Webb first made in an interview with me is that after the meeting was over Thursday night, as she was going ready to leave, talking to the public, meeting's over, everybody's mingling about, that Angela Mosley approaches her and in an aggressive manner, and at some point, they get in each other's faces, but that Mosley strikes Webb in the face, knocking her glasses off, at which time Webb grabs onto Senator Mosley to defend herself, and that's when Rochelle Walton Gray then is sort of, as they say in hockey, the third man in, then also grabs on to Shalonda Webb. There's a skirmish. Some people in the audience break it up, separate it. Shalonda Webb files a police report, gives a statement to police, goes to court. Next week there'll be a hearing on protection orders that Ms. Webb has asked that would keep Senator Mosley and Rochelle Walton Gray, a certain distance from her. So that's where it was over the weekend. Yesterday morning, Senator Mosley and Walton Gray filed a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit, saying that it was Miss Webb who was the aggressor, and they want $25,000 or more, saying that Miss Webb's action caused them physical pain and injury. Their husbands have also joined the lawsuit, saying that because of this stress and injuries that they are denied consortium, and we'll just leave it at that, and companionship of their wives because of these attacks. So it is now turned into a show, I guess.
And
So
Joe, in terms of the eyewitnesses on who actually initiated the physical contact, is it pretty cut and dried?
I have talked to one witness, and since this is something that's a police investigation, I will stay away from cut and dried. And the one person who is the eyewitness admits to being a political ally of Shalonda Webb, but in no uncertain terms says that Senator Mosley, I would say it's because it's Angela Walton Mosley and Rochelle Walton Gray. So Senator Mosley was, according to Elise Dales, an alderwoman in Bellefontaine Neighbors and an ally of Shalonda Webb's, said that it was Mosley who was the aggressor, and that Webb had tried to at first back away, as she was talking to a member of the public, back away from Miss Mosley, who Alderwoman Dales says was very aggressive, was using profanity, was approaching Webb. She goes to back away. Next thing you know, there's, however, contact. Dales says she sees Mosley throw a punch, for the lack of a better way, extend an arm and hit Miss Webb, and then that's when people jumped in and kind of tried to separate it. So at least according to one witness who was willing to talk to the press, they said that it was Senator Mosley who was the aggressor. Not been able to hear from Bellefontaine Neighbors Police Department. Have called their police department a number of times. Their chief, Timothy Sanders, I've left messages for them all. They are not responding to it. Clearly, they want it to go away. But yeah, it's in court, basically, is where it's at on some of this.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Tell us a little bit what your thoughts are, I guess, on Shalonda Webb's name has been out there. She hasn't said one way or the other, but that she might challenge Sam Page for his job. We know that Senator Brian Williams has thrown his hat in the ring for that. Will this impact her ability to win that, or to whether it makes sense for her to join that race or not?
I would think politically it wouldn't help just simply being involved in this. However, as I've said on this show before too, I believe that Senator Williams jumping in the race fairly much sort of put Councilwoman Webb at a serious disadvantage. I think Brian Williams is much more politically connected in a wider frame, being a state senator for 8 years from University City, having worked with Congressman Lacey Clay as one of his legislative assistants, very well connected, has very high standings with labor unions, social organizations. So, yeah, I mean, something like this probably wouldn't help an effort, but I do believe that when Senator Williams announced his candidacy, I think that pretty well sort of set the tone. If the goal is that there is a faction out there that wants to beat Sam Page, that faction has already had to have realized that that's best done in the primary with one opponent only. And the idea that Senator Williams came out and already announced it, I pretty much believe already sealed the deal. So, but yes, this doesn't help Miss Webb.
And there's no way Shalonda would ever support Sam Page. Whether she actively campaigns for Brian is another story.
Right. I mean, I think that it's one of those, I think that we saw sort of that also involved Brian Williams when Cori Bush was up for re-election in 2024, and Wesley Bell announced first. And I think then you saw Brian Williams not announce because he was also being rumored as being one of the people in that possibles candidates. And I think once Wesley Bell beat him to the punch, for the lack of a better word, I think if the notion was Cori Bush needs to be defeated, she's not the answer for the first district, I think once that came about, that everybody recognizes, well, okay, so-and-so beat me to the starting gate. So, and you then consolidate behind that person. And I think that's what we have here. Anybody in a primary would know that having two people run would simply split the anti-Sam Page vote. So if the reason you're running is that you're opposed to Sam Page, most likely you wouldn't do something that would be of direct benefit to Sam Page. And a third person in that race, that's exactly what it would be.
Were you surprised when you heard the news, and you reported on this earlier last week, that former U.S. Representative Cori Bush poised to launch a campaign to win back her old seat?
Not surprised at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're the person who was defeated, you pretty much have one shot to regain it, and that's the very next election. This is America, and we now have attention spans that last nanoseconds. So the idea is, 2 years from now, it becomes Cori who. And I don't mean that as a shot against Cori Bush. I mean, that's the way the American mind works, is that, people just don't remember those things. And once you've lost, and then you're going to take 2 years off and run for the same seat, all you've done is let the other person get 2 more years of doing stuff, doing favors, making connections. So I think anytime an incumbent in the U.S. House of Representatives loses, the absolute best time to come back is in that very next election, when you hope that it was just a blip on the screen. I did something specifically that made voters angry, and they really do love me, and they'll take me back. But I think if Ms. Bush would have waited 2 more years, I think her candidacy would have been a non-factor.
We're talking with Joe Holloman on the Frank and Jill show on the Big 550 KTRS. Joe, I'm just back from the Chaim Bloom press conference, and Bill DeWitt III was asked about the economic situation with the Cardinals, with declining ticket sales, with declining television revenue, and with people concerned about the safety issue of going downtown. And I'm wondering, he says that, you know, he is involved in a lot of different committees to try to make downtown safer. I'm wondering if you could elaborate, I may be catching you off guard, of what downtown St. Louis is trying to do to make it safer for people to go to, sporting events downtown.
Well, I think a couple things that they've talked about, and I mean, in the seriousness of what would happen, but I think the fact that we're talking about bringing in a National Guard contingent that would have a visible presence downtown. I think that downtown organizations are trying to get off-duty police officers working downtown. And I want to say this because, it always ends up devolving into an argument of where both sides will bring out statistics. And, well, crime is up, crime is down, violent crime is up, violent crime is down. Yeah. You can argue all the numbers you want. I think you hit it on the head, though, when you said people don't feel safe. And numbers don't change that. By saying that this report shows that August was the safest month in the last 2 years means nothing. The feeling has been planted in people by several years of behavior. It's not like someone decided to read the monthly crime report and says, oh, I feel unsafe now. And then the next month it goes down. You go, okay, I'm back to safe. No, it's over a period of time, a feeling of not being safe has been allowed to take root in downtown St. Louis. And I hear it when I talk to my friends from the county. I don't go downtown anymore. It's unsafe. They're not reading crime stats, but it's a feeling that has been allowed to develop, festered even. And so now they have to make efforts toward it. So whatever committees they do, but what they need to do, and this is where it runs smack dab against any sort of progressive notion, is there has to be a real and more visible police or law enforcement presence downtown. It's that simple. The problem is nobody wants to say, at least anymore, it doesn't seem to be a good thing for a whole bunch of politicians to say, what we need are more cops. Nobody just wants to come out and say that, but that is the exact solution that what they need. If people are at their parking lot, wherever they park downtown, and they're walking toward the ballpark, they'd like to see police officers out there. They'd like to see police cars patrolling that area. That's what they want to see. And if that happens over an extended period of time, that very same unsafe feeling that was allowed to develop in the last 3 to 5 years will eventually subside. But until there's that increased presence, people will still feel unsafe downtown. And along with not having good teams, that's not a good thing for Cardinals attendance.
Well said. I think you'll like this comment from the Royal Banks of Missouri text line today. Joe, somebody said in the prolific words of Ron Burgundy, when we're talking about the story that you reported on at the early part of our conversation, the fisticuffs or fight, if you will, between county council members and members of our state legislators. Stay classy, St. Louis. Stay classy.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because I'm covering the story, but I'm sure it's a story that has probably been picked up by outside news outlets just to make their own representation look better. I mean, I have never seen I don't remember a whole lot of cases of one legislator seeing a lot of heated arguments seen a lot of things that seemed almost ready to blow, but actually were coming to blows is a pretty rare event indeed.
Everybody forgot that playground rule where you keep your hands to yourself. Everybody keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, we have forgotten a lot of playground rules over the years, much to our chagrin. So.
Well said, Joe Holloman. Always fun to have you on the show, and great to hear your insights as well. We'll look forward to having you back, same time, same channel, next Tuesday morning as well. Have a great week.
All right, sounds like a plan. Bye-bye.
Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist, Wealth Advisor, Capital Advisory Group. And when I first heard that, I was like, okay, I get the Wealth Advisor part. Heard of them a million times. Tax Strategist. Okay, those two are usually, I think of that as my accountant's office, the person who helps me do my taxes. Jeff puts those two things together because what he realized is a lot of people are not building the wealth they want to in retirement because they're maybe doing their own taxes or using, not to pick on anybody, but let's call them the strip mall tax preparers who will just check the boxes for you and the very basics, but may not understand the ever-changing tax laws in a way that allows you to capitalize on making sure that you are not overpaying. He's so passionate about this subject. He wrote a #1 bestseller in his category on Amazon called Keep What's Yours about taxes. It's the name of the show that he does every weekend with Josh Gilbert. And I know many of you make an appointment every week to listen to him because, again, 3 p.m. on Saturdays here on KTRS, the Big 550, the Talk of St. Louis, because they are always talking. Some of these kind of financial planners, we hear the same thing from them over and over again. And the thing that I love about what Jeff Zufall does is he's always right on top of exactly what's happening with tariffs, what's happening with interest rates. When we see a drop, what does that mean for our retirement or our taxes? What should we be thinking about? He just has so much information that is really helpful and designed for people like you and me, average everyday folks who don't have degrees in finance, don't have our Series 7 to understand investing. And that's why we can turn to Jeff and his team at Capital Advisory Group for the best advice. CapitalAdvisoryGRP.com, 636-394-5524.
Everyone's talking about these weight loss drugs, and it's a good thing we've got Dr. Joe Molesky with us, a St. Louis native and board-certified primary care physician. Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
The magic cure is these weight loss shots. They're injected once weekly. They're not like the old medications that you've seen 20, 30 years ago. These medications actually work. They're injected once weekly, and patients see within the first 90 days 10 to 15 pounds down. It simply works, and that's why I recommend it to all of my patients. You simply go online, book an appointment. You fill out a health questionnaire form. You get an appointment on our schedule. It's all telemedicine based. It's all done from your home. And then you meet with me or one of my nurse practitioners. And then after the 10, 15-minute consult, the medication is delivered right to your door discreetly, and you get started right now on your weight loss journey.
And you want to start to lose weight? None better than to call stlmedweightloss.com and ask Dr. Joe. stlmedweightloss.com.
Early detection is crucial in the fight against breast cancer. Surprisingly, even in women of average risk, abnormalities can be found. So even if you don't think you are at risk, screening is essential to prevention and saving lives. The Show Me Healthy Women program offers free breast and cervical cancer screenings to women ages 21 through 64 free of charge if you qualify. Please visit our website at health.mo.gov/showmehealthywomen or call toll-free 866-726-9926 for more information and to see if you qualify.
Altair Travel and Cruises is proud to sponsor KTRS Pink in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they're partnering with one of their preferred suppliers, Alma Waterways. River cruising is a hot way to travel right now, and Altair and Alma Waterways are offering $100 off any new Alma Waterways river cruise bookings made through Altair October 1st through the 31st. Call Altair today to book your next river cruise at 314-968-9600 or online at altairtravel.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Wake up, it's a brand new day. Getting your weekday started the St. Louis way. It's the McGraw Show.
It's Carl the Intern. Wednesday on the McGraw Show, Rabbit Rabbits, the 1st of October. Also, Randy Carricker will tell us about Chaim Bloom's first press conference.
McGraw Millhaven, Rose Dalton, and Carl the Intern. Weekday morning, 6 to 10.
Right here on your hometown station, the Big 550. KTRS.
Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
The University of Missouri-St. Louis offers academic programs at the undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and professional levels to fit any passion, purpose, and schedule. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
I'm Bob Hardcastle. Listen to my Money Talk radio program every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. on the Big 550, where we discuss your money in an easy-to-understand manner. We have interesting guests, chat about money. We try to help you feel more comfortable with your money by talking about the investment market. Join me. I'm Bob Hardcastle.
Money Talk, Sunday morning at 8 on the Big 550 KTRS.
The Bommarito Automotive Group has been your number one choice for all your own automotive needs for over 51 years. They've sold over 1 million vehicles by giving you a better choice, a better selection, and more for your trade. You can shop them online and see their entire inventory at bommarito.com.
Want a song?
Surround my mind like the song on the radio.
Want a quote? It's the song and quote of the day on the Frank and Jill Show. Right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
So glad you're with us here today on this Tuesday morning edition of the Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer in studio along with Connor McCarthy. Frank Cusimano is joining us remotely. He's been covering, of course, a big day in Cardinal Nation, new leadership stepping in, Heim Bloom. And Frank, you were pretty darn impressed.
Yes, he just hit a home run. I mean, when you embrace the past of the great Cardinal history and you talk in such a positive, energy-filled way about the future, and, you know, he just told it like it is, that we have short-term goals, but they can't get in the way of long-term gains. And you can tell, I mean, he's a bright guy. He went to Yale. He was writing for the Baseball Prospectus at a really young age. And as I mentioned, 28 years old, director of baseball operations, 31 years old, vice president of baseball operations. He's had a really impressive resume at a really young age, and he's now been given the keys to the car of one of the most storied franchises in baseball history.
We have some great questions that have come in on the text line. We'll get to those after our next break. If you have one that you want Frank to answer based on what he heard this morning, text him in the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126, and we'll get to those in just a few minutes. It is the last day of September already. Feels like it's a little earlier in the season because the temperatures haven't quite stayed at those fall-like levels we had a few weeks ago. But since this is the last day of September, and it is a September morn, we thought this classic hit by our fan favorite here on the show, Neil Diamond, September Morn, would be a good choice. That voice. I mean, it's a good way to start a September morning, is to have a little Neil Diamond. That song, by the way, was from the album by the same name back in 1979, and the title track, September Morn, international chart hit and became his 30th top 40 hit in the U.S. I mean, we kind of take it for granted, but he was really part of the soundtrack of, I think, both of our childhoods, wasn't he, Frank?
He was, and you know, he's 84. I know he's been dealing with Parkinson's for a while, but he was God with a small G. There's nobody quite like Neil Diamond.
Yeah, I mentioned it last year. I got to go see the musical that's based on his life. It's one of those ones, if you're in the era where you had any exposure to those songs at all and the way that they weave it into his life story in that musical, I think it's worth seeing. Soundbite this morning of Leland Vittert, of course, St. Louisan, has a very high-profile job at News Nation as a columnist, also very open about his childhood and the fact that he has autism as well. He had one of his first book launches of his much touted new memoir happened here in St. Louis this weekend. Fox 2's John Pertzborn, who, by the way, has known Leland since Leland was an intern on Fox 2 News in the morning a very, very long time ago, interviewed him this morning about this book and his dad's role in his life. It was pretty interesting. Isn't that just a great story? The book is called Born Lucky, A Dedicated Father, A Grateful Son, and My Journey with Autism, forward by George F. Will. But it was a really just a fun interview that aired just a couple of hours ago that to hear of that connection. And the book is getting a lot of positive press and working its way up the bestseller list already.
Yeah, I've heard about, I think, 4 different podcasts with him over the last 3 months, and every one of them is compelling. One of the best things is that Leland later found out that Mark, the father, would sometimes, like after he'd put him to bed, would go into a den and simply cry for hours, knowing, what his son was going to endure. But he never wanted his son to see him cry. There was a great quote where he said, "I had no friends. I was not confident in any way." And he said, "Okay, jump into my arms." Obviously, he caught him, and as any loving parent would do, he said, "You can always trust me." I mean, the story of this book is not just about overcoming or dealing with autism. It's about a father's unbridled love for his son and not letting society shape him. It's one of the most powerful books. I haven't even read the book, but I feel like I've read it because I've listened to 6 or 7 hours of podcast about the book. But wow, what a story Mark Vittert is, and Leland is an incredible success story as a news anchor.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Those are great insights and a really important reminder. I mean, he certainly touched on it in what we just heard, but you taking it to that next level of a reminder. And there are a lot of other parents and people we all know in our own lives, too, who have gone so far above and beyond to try to make a great life for their kids. And they often are unsung heroes. Nobody's writing a book about it, but it's one of those things that it's important for us to pay attention. We've talked about that a couple of times on the show today, to those stories where somebody's going that extra mile to care more, to believe in somebody in a way that helps them in the long run. It's kind of a good invitation for all of us to think that way. Somebody who goes the extra mile to help people every single day, our friends at Premier Heating and Cooling. They are just unabashedly open about the fact when you talk to them, any conversation you have, that they absolutely care about customers, customer service. They want to make sure that you are taken care of in a way that is second to none. And they know that that's the bread and butter of why their company has been able to stand out and be successful in a world where there's a lot of heating and cooling companies out there. And it's because one customer has such a good experience, they tell their friends, they tell their neighbors, they tell their sister-in-law, they tell all the other relatives about it. And that's the way that they've built a very solid business. Also, in a business rather, where a lot of the competitors are just trying to lure people in with those, maybe the bait and switch coupons or come, we'll do the clean and check on your unit and then hopefully you'll become a customer. Premier Heating and Cooling just has return customers who come back. I know I am one of those return customers because my experiences have been so positive. I wouldn't want to start with anybody else. I always want to stick with them as well. So now's the time. Get ahead of the game. Set up that appointment to have your clean and check done on your furnace so you're ready when the temperatures will invariably switch to cold. We know what it's like in St. Louis. October is going to be no surprise. It's going to happen, and be prepared for it before it happens. PremierHeatingCooling.net, 636-916-1122.
And now, KTRS weather from the John Beal Roofing Weather Desk.
Well, September's swan song is going to be a toasty one, a lot closer to the records this afternoon than the normals, that's for sure. 89, my forecast high. The record is 93, set back in 1952. Looks pretty mild this evening, though. We'll drop back into the 70s by about 7:30, and then partly cloudy overnight with a low of 63. Just a few more clouds building in on Wednesday. That's the first day of October, so I'll shave a couple of degrees off, but still go way above normal. 86 for the high on Wednesday. Dry weather locked in through at least early next week. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers on the Big 550 KTRS.
John Beal Roofing is the home of the lowest price roofing guarantee. Get a free estimate today at johnbealroofing.com.
Since 1974, Permajack of St. Louis has been helping residential and commercial owners protect their biggest investment. From successfully solving foundation structural problems to making sure basements remain dry, Permajack has performed tens of thousands of projects on both sides of the river, utilizing state-of-the-art technology, techniques, and equipment. Permajack of St. Louis has done it with honesty and integrity, never recommending anything outside of what you really need. For many repairs, Permajack provides a transferable life of structure warranty, all while Permajack of St. Louis has earned a BBB A+ rating and accreditation. For foundation settlement, bowed or buckling walls, cracks in your foundation, walls or bricks, or basement waterproofing, choose the hometown family-owned team at Permajack of St. Louis. Schedule your free inspection and estimate at permajackofstlewis.com. That's permajackofstlewis.com. Permajack, solid as rock.
Hey, Ed Brock, everybody. If you love Halloween like I do yourself a favor and visit Johnny Brock's Dungeon. Why shop those tiny pop-up shops when you can shop 30,000 square feet of locally owned Halloween fun? We're open all year at I-44 in Jefferson on the edge of Soulard. Johnny Brock's Dungeon, a St. Louis must-see.
It's Julie Buck here to tell you that the patio is open at Bishop's Post right next to Chesterfield Mall. Get your reservations in now and go to Bishop's Post. You will love it. Tell them Julie Buck sent you, bishopspost.com. Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
Most people think if I name my husband as beneficiary, everything's going to be okay, and that's not necessarily true.
I'm Scott Garcia with Premier Estate and Income Planning.
What am I doing taking care of people after somebody has passed and all the mess that comes with that?
And I'm Jennifer Cermak, Chief Counsel and Estate Planning Attorney of Premier Estate and Income Planning.
No longer is the attorney the gatekeeper to your lives.
Let us show you how to protect your assets, avoid probate, and retire with confidence.
Having an estate plan could be the most important document you could ever have.
The premier income and estate planning show. This Saturday at 4 and this Sunday morning at 7 on the Big 550 KTRS.
Health insurance can feel complicated, but Medica health plans are different. See, we're nonprofit, which means people first, not shareholders. And we're right here in St. Louis with affordable plans for local care you trust. Your doctors, your hospitals, to help you feel your best. With Medica, your health coverage can feel a bit simpler. And now, we're here for you. Medica Health Plans. You're not just covered, you're cared for.
A message from the master. If you are looking for that one-of-a-kind gift this year, come on in to Newsletter's Fine Jewelers. Let Richard draw your future present for somebody you love. This special engraving lasts a lifetime. At the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
Little Neil Diamond bringing us back. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusimano, Frank and Jill Show, along with Connor McCarthy today. Frank, some good questions here. Somebody, on the is still feeling a little salty, shall we say, about this last season for the Cardinals, and they want to know if the new leadership is so great. Why did he leave the other cities? Why did Chaim Bloom leave the other cities where he was?
Well, at Tampa, he was spectacular. With a limited budget, they did a lot of winning, and they almost set a model for baseball how you can do it with not much of a budget. What they would do is they would develop and they would draft really, really well. And then when the player would become a free agent, they would trade him right before that. That was their model. That was their way of success because they didn't draw, they didn't have, a big budget. Then he went to Boston, and unfortunately at the time, Boston started to cut back, and they made him trade, some really good players. So it wasn't, I'm not saying he escapes all blame in Boston, and people in Boston do not regard his regime as successful. But I think if what you look at what he did in Tampa and the way he's regarded around baseball, I think the Cardinals feel pretty good about Chaim Bloom in the future.
Another question for you. How long will Marmol have, do you think, to turn things around before he is on the chopping block?
Well, look, he has, I think, 1 year left on this contract. I don't know if he'll be extended. Look, in baseball, we're all kind of day to day. And, if they would have a really bad season and it doesn't look like there's development, then I think, he'd be in trouble. So he's got another year to, develop young talent and work with Chaim. I think, his job security is not great, but I think I mentioned earlier, one of the first things that Chaim told me in the one-on-one, Ali Marmol will be back.
Okay. And then did they get into any other details about, for instance, are there any particular positions they're going to be looking at investing some more in for the coming year, or things like that could potentially improve the outlook for the team compared to how they performed this year?
Well, Mr. DeWitt said traditionally we don't win bidding wars with high-priced free agents. So I don't think we're going to bring in huge names at big numbers. I do think there's going to be some roster adjustment where they trade some players and bring in some new players. But in terms of winning free agent bidding wars, that's not going to happen with this franchise. I seem to think that the minor league system is pretty good, that they have some good players, and they do. And, in the last couple of years, when you're not as good, you draft higher, you get the fifth pick in the draft, you get the sixth pick in the draft. So you are getting an infusion of higher end talent.
And do you think, when somebody looks at, I know very little about about either the mechanics or the business of baseball, but when you look at the money that got paid out to somebody like a Juan Soto versus, how the Mets are doing, do you think we're going to see a philosophy change or a culture change in baseball that looks more toward that model of development of new players as opposed to bidding wars for those big expensive players?
Well, it's actually a very good question, Jill.
Why, thank you.
Yes. If you just look at, the tale of two teams in Major League Baseball, where you had the Mets with that enormous payroll not even making the postseason. There's 3 wild card spots. And the Milwaukee Brewers with that minuscule payroll becoming arguably the best team in baseball. Clearly, spending money is not an automatic way to win. And it's about drafting, it's about developing. You'd like to, add some pieces via free agency, but the bottom line is for, 80% of the teams, it's about drafting and developing and making key trades, which is, I think, is going to be something that Chaim Bloom, has got to be, he can't lose trades. We've lost some trades in the last couple of years. Chaim Bloom's got to win some trades.
Makes a lot of sense, my friend. We missed having you in the studio today. I appreciate you're doing about the job of about 10 people. Thanks so much for cluing us in and giving us a first look at what we can expect, hopefully, with this regime change for our Cardinals in the future. And I know you've got to run to go do a few more things, so we'll look forward to having you back here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay, Jill, thanks so much. Really appreciate your help.
I mean, seriously, that guy works so hard. It'll be fun to get him back in studio. We have a excellent show lined up as well. Ryan Raphael is going to join us in just a couple of minutes, though, and I know some of you have some questions for him. Get them in on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line right now, 84126. We're right back after this.
Congratulations to John Beal Roofing. Want to give them a shout out. They've been a sponsor of the show through thick and through thin for coming up on 20 years, and their message has remained the same all these 20 years. Make sure you call someone local. With all the storms that have been in the area over the last couple of months, it's been busy, and a lot of out-of-towners are coming in. They sure are nice, but you know what? They'll take half your money, and you never see them again. Somebody from the insurance industry told me, make sure you call local. I told them I was well-schooled. John Beal Roofing will guarantee you the best price. They'll work with your insurance company to make sure you get the claim you deserve to fix it and fix it right. Roofing, siding, gutters, all storm damage, John Beal Roofing will take care of it. Keep it local and keep it John Beal. Keep it in the family for 20-plus years. John Beal Roofing, 1-800-NEW-ROOF. Or johnbillroofing.com.
Hey, St. Louis County Library is hosting a free conference for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and nonprofit leaders from October 8th through the 10th. The Small Business and Nonprofit Conference offers 3 days of in-person and virtual networking and education on a variety of business-critical skills and strategies. Sessions will take place at the Clark Family Branch and virtually by Zoom. The conference is free, but registration is recommended. A full schedule and registration details are available at slcl.org/events.
You know why right now is the absolute best time to book your new patio or deck with my friends at Outdoor Living? Aside from being the best in town, these guys are really smart. They pay attention to market conditions, and they've stocked up on patio and deck supplies, including steel, all before these tariffs kicked in. So while their competitors' pricing has gone through the roof, prices have never been better at Outdoor Living. Now is the best time to call and book your summer job. Not to mention, these same competitors have sold out to large conglomerates and hedge funds. Pat Leahy and his team remain locally owned and operated, providing the best pricing and the best service in town. So, looking for a new deck or a new fence or anything outdoor? Outdoor Living, 314-966-DECK. That's 314-966-DECK. Or check them out online, Outdoor Living Inc., or check out their great showroom, Big Bend and I-44 in Kirkwood, OutdoorLivingInc.com.
You've seen the movies Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Have you always wondered what it would be like to be a Top Gun instructor or pilot? Now is your chance at the National Museum of Transportation. On October 15th at 7 p.m., Captain Kevin Proton McLaughlin, United States Navy retired former commander of Top Gun and technical advisor to the movie Top Gun Maverick, will be the featured speaker. Tickets are $30. Reserve your spot now online at tnmot.org at the National Museum of Transportation.
Some of my fondest memories as a kid is heading down to the hardware store. You had to pick up a couple of nails, a couple of screws, maybe a gallon of paint, whatever it may be, right? It was your friendly neighborhood hardware store. Well, those don't exist anymore in St. Louis, except for Schnarr's Hardware. They have 2 locations in Webster Groves and in Clayton Road in Ladue. Schnarr's Hardware is that place where you go in and you can get that bucket of paint, you can get a couple of screws. The advice is always free. And the one thing about Schnarr's Hardware that every single family hardware store used to have, and that is the smell. It smells like a hardware store. It's got the selection. I don't know how they do it. It's a small store, but they got everything you ever need. They got the paint. They got paint matching. They've got big green eggs. They've got screws and nails and everything a hardware store should have. Schnarr's Hardware, 2 locations, 1 great hardware store. Schnarr's Hardware, we'll see you there.
Welcome back, everybody. Frank and Jill Show. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusimano on assignment for the last part of the show here, but Ryan Raphael is in. You guys love it when we have him in. We always get such positive feedback because he does such a great job at helping regular folks like you and me understand better what's going on with Medicare. And we're about to get to your busiest time of the year. Is that right, Ryan?
My terminology is the floodgates open really starting tomorrow, actually. So, yeah, it's go time. Lots of activity already.
Yes. And so when people say that, what does that mean for the average person who doesn't keep track of the calendar, so to speak, when it comes to Medicare enrollment?
So for people that are already on Medicare, that have a Medicare plan, this would be their opportunity to review and make changes. And all the marketing begins tomorrow. So all the insurance companies send out all their mailings. Agents, brokers like myself is when we kind of have the green light that we can now talk about the following year's plans for those that it applies to. So, yeah, that's what it is. And some people are happy with what they have, and that's fine. And then they can just stay put, or maybe there's something better for them depending on their situation.
And one of the big headlines that I know is impacting people, gotten texts on it, is the fact that some Aetna plans are terminating, specifically in Illinois. How is that going to impact some of our listeners?
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is actually a very popular plan. It's what's called a service area reduction is the technical term, and that means that they are leaving an area. And through all of Illinois, a couple of different Aetna Medicare Advantage plans is what they are. They are leaving, so that person does have to make a different selection. Sometimes when those things happen, the person will get transferred over to a different plan within that company. They're like, okay, we're going to slide you over to this plan that's comparable, but they're not doing that this time. So all those people do need to re-sign up with a different company or maybe a different Aetna plan.
Okay, so they will have gotten the notification, but then meeting with you is going to help walk them through that process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those people just got those notices last week, actually. So I've had a lot of my current clients or people that aren't reaching out like, hey, looks like I got to pick a different plan. When those things happen, I mean, it's not a horrific thing, in my opinion, that they can just pick another comparable plan that might be better for their needs.
For somebody who hasn't had the privilege of meeting with you, how long do those meetings last? And then how do you help a person choose the right plan for the following year?
I'd say the average meeting is 6 to 7 hours. No, just kidding. It's
and no lunches provided.
It's probably an hour-ish or less. I mean, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but coming up, I think a lot of things can get accomplished in 30, 45 minutes to an hour. And it's not a long, drawn-out process. I try to keep it simple, keep it interesting, and on terms we can all understand, and help the person narrow down so that they have peace of mind.
And then how do you help them choose that right plan? What are you looking at so that you do help that narrowing down process?
So it's really, I start with medicines and doctors if they have either of the two. That certainly begins the process because
which is about 100% of the people.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, it's like that, oh, wait a minute, your meds, you're certainly going to be better off with this plan over here versus that plan. So I really do that, and then we start looking at different benefits and different perks of the different plans and just see what is attractive or non-attractive.
Do people know what they're going to be paying? What's that new Medicare premium for next year?
So there is some rumors of it. It's not set in stone yet. Usually Medicare comes out with that in typically October area. But supposedly the new premium for most people instead of $185 is going to be $206.50.
Okay.
So it's not for sure, but I think that's what it's headed for.
So under $25 of an increase, which nobody wants, but at least could have been worse, I guess, which is good. And of course, one of my favorite things that I always talk about when here on the show is the fact that I think of you as a high-paid consultant, right? Somebody that very valuable consultancy, but people don't pay out of pocket to you because your fees are covered by the insurance agencies.
That's exactly it, Jill. So whatever plan the person goes with, I'm compensated by that plan. And something important that I always share all the time is that that's regulated by Medicare. Mm-hmm. So If somebody goes with a Medicare supplement, all of those plans compensate the broker the same. And then if somebody goes with a Medicare Advantage, same situation. So that way there's not favoritism and pushing of plans, for lack of better terms, or as I like to say, tooting horns of certain plans that pay more and this one doesn't. I don't want to tell you about those, kind of a thing. So it truly doesn't matter to me which one it is, as long as it's the one best for their needs.
And you're planning on this being, ahead of time, just based on all the markers, that this is going to be your busiest enrollment period ever, which means, dare I say, you said you're working 16-hour days. How do you do it, and why do you do it?
It would be nice if there was 3 Ryans, but there's one. But I share that I want to help people. I want to kind of be the one that gets back to people when they reach out. I just am particular about it, that I just don't feel like I need to do it yet. I mean, I'm certainly getting there, but yeah, it's a grind, but I'm happy to do it. I'm certainly not complaining. And I appreciate so many people reach out. A lot of listeners here have for years, that each and every one of them, I'm so thankful. And the ones that haven't, that might. I just love helping people take the sting out of the Medicare maze and just help them figure it out, where they don't have to call a bunch of 800 numbers or a TV commercial or mailings and kind of navigating it that way. I just try to, again, take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, we love it here. Whenever we hear from so many listeners, they're like,
thank
hey,
you.
I had my meeting with Ryan. He was so great. He actually told us we don't need to be signing up at this point because my wife's still working for a couple more years, and they just got so much peace of mind from you in the incredible work that you do. Of course, you can reach out to Ryan, 314-368-6808, your cell phone number. I mean, that's another sign of how approachable you are. MedicareManSTL.com. For the right plan, call the Medicare Man. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Appreciate it.
Carney Show is up next, of course, with John, Julie, and Max. Heidi Glauss Show a little bit later on in the show. They've got a great one planned as well. Keep your dial right here, and make sure you join Frank and me tomorrow at 10 a.m. Make it a great day, everybody. You deserve it.
Everybody loves good barbecue, and everybody wants to know where the next great barbecue place is. And if you're looking for an overnight sensation, it's only taken them 10 years. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, Woods Mill and Clayton Road. There is a gas station, West County Phillips 66 gas station. In that gas station, in the back, for 10 years, some of the best barbecue in town. Bring a friend and spread the word. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery. Don't forget about the bakery. 3baybarbecueandbakery.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem.